Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Lucard, and I am an HMS administrator for Montgomery County. In today's training, we're going to show you how to use the Add Multiple Services button under the Service Transaction tab. Now, most of the time, you only do a service transaction one by one by one, and that's fine. That's how you're going to spend most of your time doing it. But sometimes you need to enter multiple service transactions for a client pretty quickly. The way we're going to show you today is going to save you a little bit of time. Not a lot of time, but a little bit. And when you have a full load of case managers, that little bit of time per client can add up. So we just want to make sure you know how to do this method to be a little more efficient should the need arise. So first thing we're going to do, as we always do, is we're going to go in and we're going to EDA, which is enter data as to make sure we're coding for the right program. So in my case, because I'm an administrator, I have to shadow someone. And then I have to enter data as. And then I'm going to pick my program. So I'm going to pick Bethesda Care Street Outreach. And it's important that if I'm coding for Bethesda Care Street Outreach, I pick that program rather than say Travelodge or Veterans Rapid Rehousing. Right? So if you have more than one program, the first thing you should do every time you log into HMIS is go up here and enter data as for the right program, and then change your enter data as when you switch to a different program you need to code for. So now we're going to grab a client. We're going to go into client point. And we're just going to type in the first couple letters of the client's name. Right? We don't need to do a lot. We're going to hit search. And there's Brody Lee, our test client. And we're going to go over here to the Service Transactions tab. Now, normally what we do is we click Add Service. We go in and we do a service one by one. In this case, we're going to add the Add Multiple Services button. And this is our Service Transactions dashboard. We're going to click Add Multiple Services. And as you can see, because we're EDAing correctly, we have here our service provider that we chose as our EDA, Bethesda Care Street Outreach. Because it's important, we don't want to code for one of these other programs. That's one we're doing. So let's show you what all these different things. Number of services and need identified. Although this is at the top, this is actually something you're going to do at the end. It's a little unintuitive, but what it's going to do is it's just going to switch all your services to closed how you want. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to see is number of services, right? So this again can be a little tricky, which again is one of the reasons why I don't always recommend use this, because you want to be a little more user savvy with HMIS before we start going into some of the functions, let you do multiple things at once. So if we do number of services, this is not going to be multiple services that you're setting up. This is going to be 3 of the same type. So let's choose food, right? So if we did 3 services and food, close it because it's best practices, right? And we hit save and exit. It's going to create 3 food services with the same exact date timestamp. And how often are you going to do that? How often do you need multiple services of the same exact type with the same exact date timestamp? It's a little weird, right? So what we're actually going to do is we're going to go back to our add multiple services, and we're going to be doing one service one by one. So here we go. We got our start date. We've got our end date. And remember, our end date should always be the same or after our start date. I'm going to choose food again. And then, of course, close fully met. Again, that's our best practices, because what we want to do is we want to make sure that a service is one and done. It's something you do one time. It's not something you leave open-ended like this. And we're just going to click add another. And look, here's another service transaction we can do. So let's do care management. And let's do another one. So we've got 3 service transactions. And then we're going to do, let's say, transportation. Right? So we've got all 3 of these. We've got a food one, we've got a case management, we've got a transportation. Then we can go up here and change everything to closed. And now you can see that they all say closed, but again, we still have to set the outcome fully met, fully met. So this button up here doesn't really save you a lot of time. Set all, because it only sets the need. It doesn't set the outcome of the need. Right, so we've got our 3 here. we've got food, we've got care management, we've got transportation passes. So we've got 3 that we're creating at once. We hit save and exit. And there's those 3 that we made. There's our transportation pass, and there's our case management, and then there's those 3 food ones we made earlier to show you as an error. And so we would just delete those. Now you're probably going, oh my God, why do we have 3 transportations and 3 case managements? Because again, this is to show you how easy it is to make a mistake, because we had 3 services in here, right? For each of those. So this is why we're showing you how to do this incorrectly, because we don't want to have multiple errors. So let's show you that. Now what we're doing is we're just deleting the means, right? So let's show you again how to do it the right way. Make sure we don't make any mistakes. One service, basic need. Add another, food. Add another, so. And again, we're going to leave that button alone because it actually doesn't really help us that much. We're going to be closed, fully mapped, closed, fully mapped, closed, fully mapped, save and exit. And here's our 3 services done correctly. Again, how can you make mistakes? By putting in anything other than 1 in the number of services in here, it's going to duplicate. Remember, we put 3 in here, and so it made 3 of each of them. If we put 3 here, it's going to make 3 of that specific service transaction. We don't want that. So we did it right. And now we have 1 of each of our service transactions, 1 of our cell phone, 1 of our food, and 1 of our basic needs. Of course, there's still 1 more drawback to doing the multiple services instead of using the just 1 service button. And that is that the note is blank. So we have to go back in after making them and put in our note. All right, note, food. Again, your service transactions are going to be more in depth than this. I'm just doing this for the purpose of showing you still have to fill in the note. So there you go. There's all 3 of them, right? These are our service transactions. You can go back to the dashboard. And again, remember, to just add multiple services and keep your number of services at 1, or it's going to duplicate. Because remember, we did a food, right? Bus fare, prices. If you put 3 in here, it's going to duplicate each of these service transactions in triplicate. And if you put a 3 in the number of services here, it's going to just duplicate the food one in triplicate. So be very, very careful. Leave your number of services always at 1, put that add another button, and then you're just filling them out. Remember that using this method, the add multiple services button, leaves the note blank. So if you do this method, you'll have to go back and you'll have to, go back in like we just did. We looked at the service transactions and put the note in. So this saves a tiny bit of time, but not a lot. So it's up to you if you feel that this is really worth using. It just depends on how comfortable you are with remembering to go back in and do that note, and how comfortable you are at remembering not to change that number of services for more than 1. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of cleanup to do with those extra foods or cell phones, or how many you made in triplicate or quadrupled, or however you chose. So you have to be very careful with that add multiple services section because it's so easy to screw up. And then all of a sudden have 46 different food or emergency shelter or whatever service transaction. So again, this is an option in the system, but you have to be safe and also confident in your skills with HMIS before you start to use it. It's a little bit more intermediate advanced for those that are taking their time and really do their work thoroughly. And if so, you'll be able to find it. It cuts off a little bit of time, shaves a couple seconds off each client. Again, it's up to you if you want to use it. If you feel more comfortable using the ad service and just doing it one by one, because it gives you a little more control and lessens the amount that you might make an error, then by all means, keep using ad service. Otherwise, if you want to do multiple services at once, try that add multiple services button. And I mean, at some point you will make a mistake using this. You just have to remember to do the cleanup if you do. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you for joining me with this training, and I look forward to working with you again in the future. Have a great day.